Hello, and a big welcome from myself, Simon Bellanes, and my colleague Mike Hawk at the Campaign for New Myanmar. And welcome to our memorial webinar for those recently fallen in Myanmar. I'm going to pass on very quickly over to Ma Thinn Thiri and to Me Me Khant to do a proper introduction. But I just want to direct you all to the chat function of this webinar, where throughout the webinar, we will be posting petitions that you can sign, and also links where you can give money to Mutual Aid Myanmar and to AAPPB. So without no further ado, let me pass over to Me Me Khant and Ma Thinn.
Thank you, Simon, for your introduction. Hello, everyone. My name is Me Me Khant. Thank you for joining our Remember the Fallen event today. Today, we are hosting this event to commemorate and celebrate the lives of 4 executed political prisoners, Phyo Zeya Thaw, Jimmy, Aung, and Aung, who were all wrongfully executed on July 25th, 2022. As Simon has said, the proceeds from this event will go to Assistant Association for Political Prisoner. And today we have a list of speakers who are joining us to share their reflections and personal memories of our fallen heroes, whom some of them have known them personally. So please wait for to hear from all of our speakers who are giving their time and also to join us today. We have former U.S. Ambassador to Burma, such as Ambassador Derek Mitchell, Ambassador Scot Marciel. We have Chairman Meeks of House of Foreign Affairs. We also have ministers from the National Unity Government, such as His Excellency Htin, and also His Excellency Aung as well. First, I think we want to share that this event is also this event will also be running in Burmese in parallel. So if you want to listen to the Burmese version of this event, click on the globe icon if you're joining from the live webinar. First, I think we will begin with a poem from Sia Gingold. He is the 88, as we know, he is the 88 generation student leader who have known and fought alongside me for a long time. So first, without further ado, we will give the floor to Sia Gingold, who is joining us live here today to end this event.
အားလုံးပဲမင်္ဂလာပါရှင်ဒီနေ့အခမ်းအနားကတော့ဒီမိုကရေစီလူ့အခွင့်အရေးနဲ့စစ်အာဏာရှင်စန့်ကျင်လှုပ်ရှားမှုတွေကြောင့်ဖမ်းဆီးထိန်းသိမ်းခံရပြီးတဲ့နောက်ပြီးခဲ့တဲ့2022ခုနှစ်ဇူလိုင်လ25ရက်နေ့မှာစစ်အာဏာရှင်တွေရဲ့ကြိုးပေးကွပ်မျက်ခြင်းခံလိုက်ရတဲ့88မျိုးဆက်ကျောင်းသားခေါင်းဆောင်ကိုချင်းမီ NLD ပါတီရဲ့ပြည်သူ့လွှတ်တော်ကိုယ်စားလှယ်ဟောင်းကိုဖြိုးစေရသောကိုအောင်သူရဇော်ကိုအလှမျိုးအောင်တို့ဒီသူရဲကောင်း၄ဦးတရားမဲ့တပ်ဖြတ်ခံရခြင်းအတွက်အောက်မေ့ပွဲအခမ်းအနားဖြစ်ပါတယ်ဒီအခမ်းအနားကို online ကနေပြီးတော့တိုက်ရိုက်ပြောကြားမဲ့အစီအစဉ်တွေပါဝင်တယ်လို့ video message တွေကိုလည်းကျမတို့ထုတ်လွှင့်ပြသသွားမှာဖြစ်ပါတယ်ရှင်အခုထုတ်လွှင့်ပြသနေတဲ့ Zoom အကောင့်မှာလည်းနားထောင်ခြင်းနဲ့ဘာသာစကားကိုပြောင်းလဲနားထောင်လို့ရတဲ့အကြောင်းသိပေးကြပါတယ်ပထမဦးဆုံးအနေနဲ့တော့ကြာဆုံးသွားတဲ့သူရဲကောင်းတွေနဲ့ပတ်သက်ပြီးတော့88မျိုးဆက်ကျောင်းသားခေါင်းဆောင်ကိုမင်းကိုနိုင်ကစတင်ပြောကြားပေးမှာဖြစ်ပါတယ် welcome ကိုမင်းကိုနိုင်ဟုတ်ကဲ့
ကျွန်တော်ဘယ်ဘာသာစကားနဲ့ပြောပြရမလဲခင်ဗျ
ဟုတ်ကဲ့ကိုဘောမင်းကိုနိုင်စင်ပြတဲ့စကားနဲ့ပြောပြရပါတယ်ဘာသာပြန်ရှိပါတယ်ရှင်ဟုတ်ကဲ့ online မှာဟုတ်ကဲ့
ဟုတ်ကဲ့ကျေးဇူးတင်ပါတယ်အင်္ဂလိပ်လိုပြောရင်တော့ကျွန်တော်တူပဲပြောမှာပါဟိုအရင်တော့ကျွန်တော်ဗမာလိုလည်းပြောပါမယ်ဆိုလိုချင်တာကတော့အခုကြာဆုံးခဲ့ရတဲ့သူရဲကောင်းတွေဟာတေချာကြည့်ရင်တွေ့လိုက်ပါလိမ့်မယ်အဲဒီမှာထင်ရှားတဲ့သူက2ဦးပြီးတော့ Taman Pidurega, Paula Biro, the Dolahima, Pagajare, Pidu no Ubo. I Tinshare do the Rema, Pambiro Chimes, Blue Tinshara, Resura, a Jejivare. Padone Suro, Turu no Uha, also take a match to the Pinituba. Through the Riha, terrorist no, associate Kangare to remove. Hobby. I so say can I time to get hope about the last raga. The case had a Yijizo Java. Through it, Ludim Yadu Nayao ye no can't John Jimes or no. Through the Nepe a Tidima, Oza Anna Jizare to the Pipare. A Nubina Nebema, Nangain Nebema, Condrane. Attention that Gaja to the Pire, Beta Miaza Abehu, Yongji Moody, Yagaja to the Pipare. I know where Gondi Chimiwa Miaga. Paula be the Teta alone de ma. Miapi do ye, Yongji, Nitamu, Tamu Tamu in a Santa Nagaja to the Pipare. Through ye ego. Damia take the low, a take Kayare car. I read Damiariga, Luta de, Luya de, Adama Pugene, a little Camuma. Kavadi Chinia. Yeta Puesra and Meshiva. Allowing so you are at Chini Mu Pivacy. Through a threat. Kuya Kaya America. Through her, Mitazu Winago, Gawe boat threat. Ya Yago, Swekan Miro, Kukanava. Daha Kukanava. The fence looked up. Arikama Kuna Engo Jujo Lade Damiariga. Turogo in Ari Tombiro, see Mare. Eragaro. Turogo, Josimo, Debiro. Quamia de Elo, so var. Turu at the Masoya came, Pari Pio Domine. Turu to Zondia, Turu Chite Miego, Horicavaji go through Pio Jemawa. Rapiro les ro, Dayame, Quamia in Kayarava. Shini Naguin on MCed. Oh, Liga try a Machite. Chitalo, so sweaty Aung, through Quamia see in Kayarava. Kavaji go through Pari Pio Jemane. Through Piodaji, Sakago or Kavaji Java. Era General Yenema betting Tani through bigger Pehili Pipare. Very well, she said, what? To Yegomia, Piduria Yenema, Matidalo. Through yet Suno Kapuri, Kavaji, Piambido, Tia, Yatam, no tabu. Ludaje, a 30 body, a Pima social ya on Kawe Buro, knows of bigger a column than you know. You saw Nale about it, yeah. Jesu de Mare. Not done English or the Pio. Thank you. Murderers and terrorists have unjustly taken over our home, robbing, raping, killing. The people have had to defend themselves against such inhumanity and impunity. Our selfless defenders are now being hunted down, tortured, and murdered. Selfless, self-sacrificing. Every day, heroes are being lynched by the occupiers, while incarnate occupies our courts of law and halls of justice. passing out death sentence on our youth and our futures. The war quietly waits on. What kind of resolution are you expecting? How can we restore and bring back justice in our land? Thank you.
ဟုတ်ကဲ့ကျေးဇူးပါဆရာမင်းကိုနိုင်အခုလိုမျိုးဆရာရဲ့ memory ဆရာရဲ့အတွေ့တွေကိုအခုလိုမျိုးပြောပြပေးတဲ့ကျေးဇူးတင်ပါတယ် Thank you ဆရာမင်းကိုနိုင် for sharing your reflections and thoughts on our fallen heroes and also your thoughts on how to bring back justice to our country and our land. Next, we have Ambassador Derek Mitchell, who is very close to Myanmar and was a U.S. ambassador to Myanmar from 2012 to 2016. Ambassador Mitchell was a U.S. government official and has an extensive experience in Asia policy, and he was in fact appointed by President Barack Obama to be the ambassador to Myanmar. He was the first ambassador to the countries in about 22 years. He's currently the president of National Democratic Institute. Without further ado, let's welcome Ambassador Derek Mitchell.
Well, thank you, Mimi. Alo mingla ba kamya to everyone. I want to first thank you and all the organizers for pulling this event together and for the honor to say a few words at the top of this frankly emotional but important event to pay tribute to two friends and icons. It's wonderful also to see the list of those who will be speaking later, and just now Naing, I haven't seen him in some time. It's quite emotional to see him. I've been thinking about him, and also the others who have joined around the world, including in Myanmar. There are so many good friends and cherished colleagues from both the US and Myanmar whom I miss. I think I speak for many when I say I am still in disbelief that Ko Jimmy and Phyo Zeya Thaw are gone. It is too difficult still to process. It was 10 years ago, 2012, probably sometime in the late winter or early spring of that year, when I first met Ko Jimmy and Phyo Zeya Thaw, as well as Min Naing and others who had just been released from political prison. I don't remember when I first knew all these important names. I'm sure Uboji had seared them into my brain over the years. But I do remember they were the ones that I would reference publicly from my earliest days as special US envoy. As we dealt with the Htin Sein regime at the time, we placed emphasis on their actions, not words, and release of political prisoners was one of the early essential actions. Ko Jimmy, Min Naing, among others, became a marker by which we in part would judge them. I referenced them repeatedly in public and private, and they became so important to me that it was one of the highlights of my time as envoy and then ambassador when I finally met them in person at the teak house behind the US Embassy in Yangon after their release in January 2012. I remember discussing the way ahead and asking them what they intended to do next. Every one of them, the 88 generation activists and those of the next generation, said to a person they were going to jump right back into civic activism, civic organization, public service, and campaigning for democracy, peace, and justice in their country. Like everyone who spoke with them at that time, I was in awe. They had just endured years of imprisonment, often torture, that stole their youth, and in so doing, the country's hopeful promise for years after 1988. And yet, their courage, resilience, determination, and patriotism were undimmed after all these years of hardship. I felt honored, inspired, and elevated to be around such true patriots. These were not a bunch of cowardly men who gave each other medals for killing their own people, parading around with uniforms and guns to feel secure and important. They were public servants in the best sense of that term. I had many subsequent opportunities to meet with Ko Jimmy over the ensuing years. I remember how he led civic efforts to gather, organize, and deliver emergency aid to those impacted by a historic national flood in 2015, engaged ethnic nationalities in pursuit of an elusive peace, and tried to build democracy from the bottom up, the only way it can happen. And in the process, I was honored to get to know Manilar. Her courage and sacrifice for her country were at least equal to Kojimi's. Together, their years of partnership and love brought sunshine into the darkness of this world. It transcended prison walls, and I know will transcend time and space now. I want to send my love to her now, if she is out there. I don't remember if Phyo Zeya Thaw was part of that first roundtable, but I do remember hearing early about the famous hip hop artist just out of prison, who led an organization called Generation Wave as part of a new generation of young democracy activists. I think he cleaned up a little bit by the time I met him with Secretary Clinton on her first visit, and then with President Obama about a year later, again, almost exactly 10 years ago. I would catch up with him from time to time after he became a legislator and close aide to Daw Suu, traveling together, for instance, to the United States. Every time I saw or engaged him, I tried to connect that brave, loyal, disciplined young man with the iconic hip hop artist. But Phyo Zeya Thaw, in fact, represented the tremendous promise of a new, vibrant Myanmar struggling to be born. We all prayed and worked for that vision, none more than Phyo Zeya Thaw himself. That struggle continues in the form of the millions of young people who have tasted freedom and will not go back into the darkness without a fight. There's lots of talk of martyrdom. Kojimi and Phyo Zeya Thaw did not set out to be martyrs. They had work to do and wanted to continue doing. They had families and futures and music to share, like thousands, if not millions of others who had their lives and futures cut short by a new generation of violent, corrupt, power-hungry, self-deluded guys with guns. We deeply mourn Kojimi and Phyo Zeya Thaw's loss, but we honor them, the two others murdered along with them, and the countless others who have perished and whose names we may never know, by keeping them in our minds and hearts forever, by thinking of them with joy and a smile, and by never giving up the fight wherever we are and in whatever capacity we can to support in tangible ways those on the front lines. In so doing, we must demonstrate the same unwavering commitment to justice, dignity, democracy, and freedom for the Myanmar people, to which they dedicated their lives. I want to again thank the organizers for putting this program together, for giving me an opportunity to say a few words in honor of two friends and patriots. Thank you. Jesu Timbade.
Thank you, Mr. Derek Mitchell. ဒါကတော့တမန်ကြီး Derek Mitchell ရဲ့ Direct ထုတ်လွှင့်ချက်အစီအစဉ်ဖြစ်ပါတယ်ရှင် Mr. Derek Mitchell ဟာ American အစိုးရရဲ့အာရှရေးရာမူဝါဒပိုင်းမှာနှစ်ပေါင်းများစွာအတွေ့အကြုံရှိခဲ့သူတဦးဖြစ်တယ်လို့မြန်မာနိုင်ငံဆိုင်ရာ American တမန်ကြီးဖြစ်2012ခုနှစ်ကနေပြီးတော့2016ခုနှစ်အထိတာဝန်ထမ်းဆောင်ခဲ့သူလည်းဖြစ်ပါတယ်လက်ရှိမှာတော့ National Democratic Institute NDI ရဲ့ဥက္ကဋ္ဌဖြစ်တာဝန်ယူထားသူလည်းဖြစ်ပါတယ်ရှင်
Thank you, Ambassador Mitchell, for sharing your personal notes and also your personal thoughts on our fallen heroes and as well as the support for the democracy movement in Myanmar. And thank you, Ma Thinn Thiri, for also translating and running this in Burmese with me. It's really an honor to be with her today. The next we have a video sent in from Chairman Meeks of the House of Foreign Affairs. Chairman Gregory Meeks is an American lawyer and politician who has been a U.S. representative from New York since 1998. He is the chairman, as I say, he's the chairman of House of Foreign Committee, so he deals with a lot of things related to policy on Burma as well. He is in fact an ally and supporter of democracy in Burma and in fact authored the recently introduced Burma Act of 2021 last year.
အခုတော့ New York မြို့ရဲ့အောက်လွှတ်တော်ကိုယ်စားလှယ်တဦးဖြစ်တယ်နောက်ပြီးတော့1998ခုနှစ်ကတည်းကတာဝန်ထမ်းဆောင်ခဲ့တယ်လို့အောက်လွှတ်တော်နိုင်ငံခြားရေးရာကော်မတီဥက္ကဋ္ဌလည်းဖြစ်တဲ့ Gregory Meeks ရဲ့ဗီဒီယိုဖိုင်ကိုထုတ်လွှင့်ပြသမှာဖြစ်ပါတယ်သူဟာမြန်မာနိုင်ငံဒီမိုကရေစီနဲ့အတူ2021ခုနှစ်ထဲကပြဋ္ဌာန်းဖို့ကြိုးစားနေတဲ့ Burma Act တွေမှာတက်ကြွစွာပါဝင်လှုပ်ရှားနေသူတဦးလည်းဖြစ်ပါတယ်ရှင်
It seems like we are having some technical issues with the audio. So I think we will wait for the videos for later, and we'll keep introducing our speaker who are joining us today live. Joining us live today, and the next we will have Ms. Naomi Gingold. And Ms. Naomi Gingold is going to share her really personal memories of our fallen hero, especially called Phyo Zeya Thaw. And Naomi is an independent researcher and journalist who first moved to Yangon in 2013 to work as a reporter, and has since been one of the only few international researchers ever to cover the hip hop scene in Myanmar. She has lived and reported extensively in Burma, Japan, and across the US, and primarily for the American Public Radio. And she has covered a wide range of topics relating to Burma, including the 2015 historic elections. So let's welcome Naomi Gingold, and Ma Thinn Thiri will translate the her bio in Burmese. So Ma Thinn Thiri.
ဟုတ်ကဲ့ကျမတို့နီးပညာပိုင်းဆိုင်ရာအခက်အခဲရှိနေတဲ့အတွက်ခုနကထုတ်လွှင့်နေတဲ့ဗီဒီယိုကိုခဏရပ်နာပြီးတော့ဓာတ်ရိုက်ထုတ်လွှင့်တဲ့အစီအစဉ်နဲ့အစားထိုးပါမယ်ရှင်အခုတော့လွတ်လပ်တဲ့သူတည်တနာနဲ့သတင်းတောက်တူဖြစ်တဲ့ Naomi Gingold နဲ့ဓာတ်ရိုက်ထုတ်လွှင့်ချက်နဲ့စပါမယ်သူကတော့မြန်မာနိုင်ငံဆိုင်ရာသတင်းတွေကိုဂျပန်နိုင်ငံပါဝင်အမေရိကန်နိုင်ငံတွင်းမှာရှိတဲ့ public radio တွေမှာထုတ်လွှင့်မြန်မာနိုင်ငံအကြောင်းတွေကိုထုတ်လွှင့်တင်ဆက်ပေးနေတဲ့သတင်းတောက်တူဖြစ်ပါတယ်သူကမြန်မာနိုင်ငံကို2013ခုနှစ်ထဲကတွားရောက်ခဲ့သူဖြစ်ပြီးတော့မြန်မာနိုင်ငံမှာတမိုင်းဝင်2015ခုနှစ်အထွေထွေရွေးကောက်ပွဲသတင်းကြီးကိုကိုယ်တိုင်သတင်းတောက်တွားယူခဲ့တဲ့သတင်းတောက်တူလည်းဖြစ်ပါတယ်ရှင် Welcome Miss Naomi sorry about that
Thank you. While I'm honored to ask to speak here today, I really wish that the people who knew him best and other artists were able to be here. But unfortunately, for safety reasons, we know that that's not possible. I got to know Zeya Thaw through the course of my research. And so I'm going to take you a little bit back right now to the year 1998, when there was a DJ competition in Yangon. It was the very first one ever held in the country. And one of the winners that day was a young teenager named Zeya Thaw. He was part of a small, tight group of rather rebellious teenagers who'd become obsessed with the sounds, the art, the technology, and the lifestyle of a world they could now glimpse, but not touch. And hip-hop encapsulated everything they longed for. Zeya Thaw and his friends began making their own, freestyling over karaoke tracks on bootleg cassette tapes, just doing it for fun, just because they loved it, not thinking or realizing they were about to become trendsetters for an entire generation of Burmese youth. In the year 2000, MCed, made up of 4 of those teenagers, Anega, Yan Yanchan, Hainza, and Zeya Thaw, released an album that exploded in popularity and catapulted hip-hop into the stratosphere of Burmese popular culture. They titled the album Satinjin, The Beginning. In their lyrics, they put their joy, their struggles, their realities, and their anger and sadness, none of which was allowed. In fact, the first time they submitted their album to the censorship board, the censors didn't cross out a few lines or even a song or two. They rejected the entire thing. The adults, the military, they hated it, all of it, from their clothes to their tattoos to what they said and the words they used to say it. But MCed and their collaborators forced the music industry, the country, and the military to listen to teenagers. MCed established hip-hop as a platform for youth voices and stories, one that hadn't existed before, and one where they got to push back against the rules. And they not only challenged and changed what was allowed, but challenged and changed the notion, the very notion of who was allowed to make the rules. Through hip hop, they found agency in a place and time that told them they had none. And the generation of Burmese kids who heard them felt that and understood. Acid, Zeya Thaw's words inspired and influenced the very same generation who are now leading the fight and who Zeya Thaw led in the fight. Hip hop was just the first revolution Zeya Thaw helped birth in Myanmar. He was the poet, the activist of the group, and long before authorities ever found out, he became involved politically. Before he was a political prisoner, he was doing work to support them. Not long after he was released from prison, he was elected to parliament in 2012. In 2015, shortly after the election, there was a large hip hop show in downtown Yangon, and Zeya Thaw was there on stage rapping with acid. He chose not to run for re-election in 2020, but in early 2021, he and acid were busy. On February 6th, acid was supposed to have a live stream concert celebrating their 20th anniversary. February 6th, 2021. Instead, that's the day that the military first shut down the internet after the coup. It's the day that people took their protest out onto the streets for the first time after the coup. Zeya Thaw never had a chance to embark on a solo career like he planned, but his words and actions continue to influence the country. After the coup, he became an important leader, and he became a new kind of leader, one who led with the young generation. He inspired them, and like many, was inspired by them. And also, he inspired the old guard. The full facts of his life now almost read like legend, but he was a real person, very real. And, something that struck nearly everyone who knew him. In fact, I was talking to some of his friends after his death, preparing to write about him. And something that kept coming up, something that friends just felt people really needed to understand about him, was just how kind of a person he was. It was actually striking and pretty unforgettable. So I do wish that those who are closest to him, other artists, I wish you were able to be here today. But I can give you this. Zeya Thaw in his own words. Shortly after the coup, Zeya Thaw began posting messages. Some were written and some were videos. This one was posted right after the coup.
We're going to start that again.
That was my mistake. This is the one. This one was posted right after the coup.
Civil disobedience movement. Lulu Anapisa look shamu, John in the Linn and the Tokan, Lulu, the Diani Piojalu. Pablo Lesuro, sit on Ashes and Ecojon Lowamajai. Peduma Lejano, Piduria Lemajaja. I do Jamulu, Piduri Ninele, Jonoru accounts on his sana time chete. Lamo, Matwet Bede, Nine, a Chama Peto, civil disobedience movement. Lulu Anapisa look shamuma, Uwamba Wanjabu, John in a Pecolubai. ကျွန်တော်ဒီနေ့ဒီစကားတွေကိုပြောနေတယ်ဆိုတာကိုယ်စလေဟောင်းတယောက်အနေနဲ့ပြောတာလည်းမဟုတ်ဘူးအဖွဲ့ချုပ်ဖွဲ့ဝင်တယောက်အနေနဲ့ပြောတာလည်းမဟုတ်ပါဘူးပြည်သူတွေကပြည်သူတယောက်အနေနဲ့ပြောတာပါအဲ့ဒီကြောင့်မို့လို့ပြည်သူတွေကချစ်ခင်လေးစားတဲ့ပြည်သူချစ်တဲ့အမှုပညာရှင်တွေအနေနဲ့လည်းဒီစစ်အာဏာရှင်စနစ်စစ်အာဏာသိမ်းမှုဖြစ်စဉ်ဒါတွေကိုရှုံချကြောင်းကိုတက်ဆွမ်းတဲ့အမှုပညာနဲ့ဖော်ထုတ်ပြသကြဖို့ကျွန်တော်အနေနဲ့တိုက်တွန်းလိုပါတယ်ကျွန်တော်တို့အားလုံးစုစည်းလိုက်တယ်ဆိုလို့ရှိရင်ကျွန်တော်တို့ဖြစ်စေတဲ့ပန်းနိုင်ကိုရောက်လာမှာပါလူတွေကပြောကြတယ်နှမ်းတစ်လုံးနဲ့စီမဖြစ်ဘူးလို့သို့တော့ကျွန်တော်တို့တွေကကိုနှမ်းဖြစ်ကြောင်းတော့ပြသရပါလိမ့်မယ်အဲ့တော့ကျွန်တော်တို့အားလုံးစုစည်းပူးပေါင်းခြင်းအပြင် civil disobedience movement လူထုအာဏာဖီဆန်ရေးလှုပ်ရှားမှုကိုတခဲနဲ့ပူးပေါင်းပါဝင်ပေးကြဖို့အားလုံးကိုဖိတ်ခေါ်လိုပါတယ်ကျေးဇူးတင်ပါတယ်
A rapper, politician, and leader who fought and sacrificed everything for the freedom that he thought everybody deserved. Thank you. I know he's missed.
Thank you, Naomi, for such a personal note on one of our fallen heroes, Phyo Zeya Thaw. And you're right that he is surely missed in our hearts and in all of us. And we are trying out to solve our technical problems again. I'm going to play the video sent in from Chairman Meeks of House of Foreign Affairs. Please bear with us as we deal with these technical issues, and hopefully this time we will play with the song.
Okay, ပြီးခဲ့တဲ့တုန်းကဒီနီးပညာပိုင်းဆိုင်ရာခက်ခဲရှိသွားတဲ့အတွက်ဒီအောက်လွှတ်တော်နိုင်ငံသားရေးရာကော်မတီဥက္ကဋ္ဌ Gregory Meeks ရဲ့ဗီဒီယိုဖိုင်ကိုကျမတို့အခုပြန်ပြီးတော့ထုတ်လွှင့်ပြသမှာဖြစ်ပါတယ်ရှင်
Hello, I'm Congressman Gregory Meeks, and I'm the chairman of the House Foreign Affairs Committee. And I want to thank the International Campaign for the Rohingya for asking me to speak today on this most solemn occasion. I'm here today to mourn with you. Together, we condemn and grieve the loss of 4 bright lights that gave everything for the people of Burma. Their vision for their country will be sorely missed as the struggle against a murderous junta that sees its own people as the enemy continues. I'm also here today to remember with you. Together, we honor the lives of 4 brave men who fought for justice and freedom to the last breath. We honor their contributions, whether through Zeya Thaw, through activism, or through public service. These 4 were leaders of principle who wore their values on their sleeves and stood by them despite challenge and peril. We must never forget their sacrifice. We must make sure that they are remembered as the freedom fighters and patriots that they were. And that's why I'm here today, to implore you and the people of Burma to keep their movement alive. In his final speech, the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. implored his brothers and sisters to keep fighting for justice with or without him. He said, I may not get there with you, but he promised that Black and brown people in the United States will one day reach the promised land. As we commemorate these 4 brave souls today, I want to leave you with the same message. These 4 individuals may not be with us today, but because of them, the people of Burma will one day see freedom in the air. Let their courage and determination inspire you to carry the torch of freedom and justice, because the fact of the matter is, your country needs you. And finally, I'm here today to tell you that I know that the United States needs to do its part. A year and a half after the coup, after the senseless murder of over 2,100 people, after countless incidents of torture and abuse, we know that enough is enough. The junta remains determined to try to hold on to power against the will of the people. Therefore, the United States and the international community must be determined to hold the military accountable, not just for these 4 deaths, but for the countless deaths since the coup and for the genocide against the Rohingya. Today, I promise you that I will continue to work tirelessly to make that happen. And I thank you. Hello.
We want to thank Chairman Meeks, even though he's not here on live. We do really want to thank Chairman Meeks and their office for sharing this message with us and for this program today. For next, we want to go back to the video montage that we will want to play to remember our fallen heroes. So the 4 executed political prisoner, Go Phyo Zeya Thaw, Go Jimmy, Go Aung, and Go Aung. 2 of them are very renowned pro-democracy activists, while the 2 of them are normal citizens fighting for their own justice and democracy. But we still want to cherish and celebrate their lives and the families in their life, and we want to remember and celebrate them today. And this video montage is dedicated to them. And I will play this video montage for all of us to take a moment and a few minutes to remember their lives. And Ma Thinn Thiri. I hope all of you have had a few minutes to remember our fallen heroes and the lives that they have lived, the sacrifice that they have made, and as well as thousands of others who have given their life for the cause of democracy in our country. Next, we will hear from Ambassador Scot Marciel, who is a retired diplomat who has over 35-year experience in Asia and around the world, especially in Southeast Asia. He has served as the U.S. Ambassador to Burma from March 2016 through May 2020, and Scot Marciel is currently a fellow at the Freeman Spokane Institute of International Studies at Stanford University. And we want to welcome Ambassador Scot Marciel, and Ma Thinn Thiri will be translating his bio in Burmese. Ma Thinn Thiri, the floor is yours.
Thank you ညီမဒါကတော့ဒီစစ်အာဏာရှင်တွေရဲ့တရားမဲ့တပ်ဖြတ်ခြင်းခံခဲ့ရတဲ့သူရဲကောင်း၄ဦးအတွက်အမှတ်တရဗီဒီယိုဖိုင်ကိုထုတ်လွှင့်ပြသခဲ့တာဖြစ်ပါတယ်ရှင်အခုတော့တမတ်ကြီး Scot Marciel ကတိုက်ရိုက်စကားပြောမှာဖြစ်ပါတယ်သူဟာရှေ့တောင်အာရှမှာအာရှရေးရာကျွမ်းကျင်သူတဦးဖြစ်35နှစ်ကြာတာဝန်ထမ်းဆောင်ခဲ့တဲ့တမတ်ဟောင်းတဦးဖြစ်ပါတယ်မြန်မာနိုင်ငံဆိုင်ရာအမေရိကန်တမတ်ကြီးဖြစ်တော့2016ခုနှစ်ကနေ2020ခုနှစ်အထိတာဝန်ထမ်းဆောင်ခဲ့သူတဦးလည်းဖြစ်ပါတယ်လက်ရှိမှာတော့ Freeman Spokane နဲ့ Stanford တက္ကသိုလ်တွေမှာပညာရှင်တဦးဖြစ်တာဝန်ထမ်းဆောင်နေသူဦးလည်းဖြစ်ပါတယ်ရှင် Welcome Ambassador Scot Marciel.
Thank you very much. Hello, Mingalaba Kamya. I'm also deeply honored to join this memorial event today. We are gathered, of course, in memory of four men, Ko Jimmy, Phyo Zeya Thaw, Aung, and Aung who gave their lives for a vital cause, the struggle for freedom, justice, peace, opportunity, and democracy for the people of Myanmar. Allow me to begin by offering my deepest condolences to the families and friends of these four heroes. Nothing any of us says today can take away the pain and the grief that you are suffering. The best we can say, and it's far from adequate, is that our thoughts and prayers are with you. Each of these men has his own story. We should remember them not just for the sacrifice they made, but for the lives they lived, the people they touched, and their hopes and their aspirations. Today, we think of all they did in this world, their families, their friends, and their communities. I'd like to say a few words in particular about Ko Jimmy, whom I was fortunate enough to get to know reasonably well. When I arrived in Myanmar in early 2016, of course, Ko Jimmy was already very well known, famous in the country for his role in the 1988 democracy movement and his many years as political prisoner. I joined millions of others in admiring him for his courage and sacrifice during those years. I got to know him after he was out of prison. I often met him with his wife, Ma Thinn, also, as you know, a very prominent activist, and usually with his longtime friend and colleague who spoke earlier, Minh Naing. Like Ambassador Mitchell said, and many others have noted, it always amazed me that people like Ko Jimmy, who had spent years in prison in terrible conditions for their political activity, had immediately upon their release from prison returned to activism, when it would have been easy and understandable just to try to live a quiet, safe life. I often wondered, and I still wonder, what kind of strength Ko Jimmy and people like him must have had to continue the struggle after so much pain and sacrifice. In my meetings, I found Ko Jimmy to be just a really kind and humble man who was extremely intelligent and thoughtful. He really thought big about the future of Myanmar and how he and others could work on a day-to-day basis to try to bring about this vision they had of a country where people lived in peace and worked together and enjoyed the freedom and opportunity that they've been denied for so many years. Ko Jimmy, I found he had a great sense of humor, a ready smile, and a sincerity and a positiveness that, frankly, one rarely sees in today's world. He spent his time promoting peace and progress at the local community level, as well as at the national level, trying always to support respect for human rights and justice and dignity throughout the country. I'll always remember him fondly with great admiration and great respect. Today, we remember and celebrate the lives of Ko Jimmy and these 3 other brave men. But in doing so, we also think about the broader cause they represented. A nation full of people who, in the face of overwhelming odds, have had the courage to stand up and fight back against this coup, and in favor of what they enjoyed for a brief time, a period of greater freedom, opportunity, and most importantly, hope that the future could be brighter than the past. These 4 men represented the incredible courage, strength, and resilience of the people of Myanmar, a force that this junta, with all its weapons, cannot defeat. Jesu Tamale.
Thank you so much, Ambassador Marciel, for sharing your memories and sharing your personal notes today. And thank you everyone for joining today, and thank you everyone for sharing your thoughts and giving your time to commemorate our fallen heroes. Next, we want to play a video that was sent in by Ambassador Paula Dobriansky. Paula Dobriansky is a very important foreign policy expert and former diplomat in national security affairs in the United States. Ambassador Dobriansky served as the Under Secretary of State of Global Affairs from 2001 through 2009, and she followed Burma issue very closely during George W. Bush administration.
ကျမ်းမဲ့တပ်ဖြတ်ခံရတဲ့သူရဲကောင်း၄ဦးအတွက်အောက်မေ့ပွဲအခမ်းအနားမှာစကားပြောပေးခဲ့တဲ့တမန်ကြီး Scot မာဆီယယ်ကိုကျေးဇူးအများကြီးတင်ပါတယ်ရှင်။ဒါပြင်လည်းအခုဒီအောက်မေ့ပွဲအခမ်းအနားမှာတက်ရောက်ပြီးတော့ဒီနားထောင်နေကြတဲ့ online မှာပြီးတော့ပါဝင်ဆွေးနွေးခဲ့ကြသူအားလုံးကိုလည်းကျေးဇူးအများကြီးတင်ပါတယ်။အခုတော့ American နိုင်ငံတကာဆက်ဆံရေးဌာနမှာလက်ထောက်နိုင်ငံခြားရေးဝန်ကြီးအဖြစ်တာဝန်ထမ်းဆောင်ခဲ့မှုတဲ့တမန်ကြီး Paula Dobriansky ရဲ့ video file ကိုထုတ်လွှင့်ပြသပေးပါမယ်ရှင်။သူဟာ American သမ္မတ George W. Bush လက်ထက်ကတည်းကမြန်မာရေးကိုစောင့်ကြည့်နေသူတူလည်းဖြစ်ပါတယ်ရှင်။
In July, 4 democracy activists were brutally executed by the regime in Myanmar. None had a fair and open trial. It is an outrage. They were falsely accused of violent crimes of which they did not perpetrate. Phyo Zeya Thaw, a member of Generation Wave, and also a well-known former lawmaker and member of Aung San Suu Kyi's party, was convicted in January in a closed military court of offenses which he did not commit. And then also executed was Kwo Min Yu, a democracy activist known as Ko Jimmy. He was one of the leaders of 88 Generation Students Group. The other 2 men, Lo Min Aung and Aung Thuro, were also falsely accused of violent crimes. This is truly, truly despicable and unacceptable. The regime's total disregard for human rights, no less human life, is an outrage. And there has been an international condemnation of what has taken place. All 4 activists devoted their lives to improve the lot of the Burmese people. They dedicated themselves to the advancement of human rights and democracy, and they all sought to achieve this via peaceful means. All were champions of freedom and liberty. All will be long remembered for their dedication, their courage, and their long sacrifices for the cause of a better Burma, where all could live in peace and in a society where there is true respect for human rights and rule of law. We will miss you. We will miss you. But know that your efforts are not in vain. Freedom and respect for human rights, I am confident, will ultimately prevail in Burma. And that's thanks to your efforts.
We really want to thank Ambassador Paula Dobriansky and her office for sending this video, and that is not only personal, not only and also encouraging. We will definitely fight until the end to make sure that democracy will prevail in Myanmar, and I'm sure all of you who are joining today are in agreement with me on that. For our next speaker, we have our ministers from the National Unity Government. We have His Excellency Linn, who is the Minister of Communications, Information and Technology, who is also a spokesperson of the National Unity Government, which is our democratically elected government of the country.
Okay, သူရဲ့ကောင်းလေးဦးတို့အမှတ်တရစကားတွေနဲ့တူခွန်အားတွေကိုပါပေးပြီးတော့ video file ပေးပို့ခဲ့တဲ့တမန်ကြီး Paula Dobriansky ကိုကျေးဇူးအထူးတင်ပါတယ်ရှင်။အခုတော့ NUG အမျိုးသားညီညွတ်ရေးအစိုးရအဖွဲ့ကဆက်သွယ်ရေးအချက်အလက်နဲ့ဤပညာဆိုင်ရာဝန်ကြီးဦးထင်လင်းအောင်ကသူရဲကောင်း၄ဦးရဲ့အောက်မေ့ပွဲအခမ်းအနားမှာတိုက်ရိုက်စကားပြောကြားမှာဖြစ်ပါတယ်ရှင်။ဝန်ကြီးဦးထင်လင်းအောင်မင်္ဂလာပါကိုဟုတ်ကဲ့
ဟုတ်ကဲ့အားလုံးပဲမင်္ဂလာပါခင်ဗျာကျွန်တော်မြန်မာလိုပဲမိတ်ဆက်ပြီးတော့ပြောပြရစီကျွန်တော်တို့ဒီနေ့မှာကျွန်တော်ထူးထူးဆန်းဆန်းပေါ့ဗျာနော်ထူးထူးခြားခြားပေါ့ကျွန်တော်ဒီလိုမျိုးပွဲတွေပြောလာခဲ့ပေါင်းလဲတော်တော်များပြီလူထုနဲ့လည်းတွေ့ဆုံပွဲတွေလည်းအများကြီးလုပ်ခဲ့ဘူးရရှိတွေနဲ့လည်းနိုင်ငံတကာမှာရှိရရှိတယ်လည်းတွေ့ဆုံခဲ့ဘူးတယ်ဒါပေမဲ့ကျွန်တော်ဘယ်တော့မှဒီလိုမျိုးရင်ခုန်ပြီးတော့အတန်တွေတုံတာမျိုးကျွန်တော်မရှိခဲ့ကျွန်တော်ဘယ်သူ့ကိုမှကြောက်တဲ့လူမျိုးမဟုတ်ဒါပေမဲ့ဒီနေ့ကျွန်တော်အရန်စိတ်ထဲမှာကျွန်တော် excited ဖြစ်တယ်နော်ဘာဖြစ်လို့လဲမင်းကျွန်တော်တို့ရဲ့သူရဲကောင်းနေပြီပေါ့ဗျာနော်ကိုဂျင်မီသူတစ်ဖြင့်ကိုဂျင်မီကိုဇေယျတော်နော်သူတို့နှစ်ယောက်ပါဝင်ကျွန်တော်တို့ရဲ့သူရဲကောင်းနောက်ထပ်နှစ်ယောက်ဖြစ်တဲ့အောင်သူရဆိုတဲ့လှမျိုးအောင်တို့ဒီအာဏာကိုမတရားရယူထားခဲ့တဲ့လူစုကနေပြီးတော့သူများစီကမတရားယူထားတဲ့ဟာကိုမှ तू ကတရားစီရင်တယ်ဆိုပြီးတော့အသက်ကိုပါတတ်ပြီးတော့နော်တရားစီရင်ပြတယ်ဒါကတော်တော်ကိုလူကြီးစရာလည်းကောင်းတယ်တဘာဝလည်းမကြောက်မတရားမှုကြီးဆိုတာတနိုင်ငံလုံးတစ်ကမ္ဘာလုံးကလူတွေလည်းသိကြတယ်နော်ဆိုတော့အခုဒီဟာ2လတော့ပြည့်သွားပြီကျွန်တော်မျက်စိတွေကြားနေသိနေရတာတွေကျွန်တော်မယုံနိုင်သေးဘူးဒီလူတွေကိုဒီလောက်အထိရရဆက်ဒီလိုမျိုးကြိုးပေးပြီးကွက်မြက်ရလောက်သူတို့ကရာဇဝတ်သားတွေမှမဟုတ်တာသူတို့ကိုတရားမျှတမှုဆိုတာကိုရင်ဆိုင်ခွင့်တော့မပေးဘဲနဲ့တစ်ဖက်သက်တရားစီရင်ပြီးတော့မှဒီလိုမျိုးလုပ်ခဲ့တယ်ဆိုတာကျွန်တော်တို့ဘလို့မှလက်ခံနိုင်ကြမရှိနော်ဒါဟာအာဏာရှင်ဗရေတရက်စနစ်တုန်းကလုပ်ခဲ့တဲ့ပုံစံမျိုးတွေနဲ့ဒီလိုပုံစံဒီခေတ်မှာလာလုပ်နေလို့မရတော့ဘူးနော်ဒါကိုသူတို့ကကျူးလွန်ခဲ့တယ်ဆိုတော့ဒီလူတွေဟာကျွန်တော်တို့လူငယ်ဘဝတွေကလေးစားရတဲ့ကိုဂျင်မီနော်ကျွန်တော်တို့တက်ကြီးပြင်းလာတဲ့ခါမှာလည်းပဲနုပညာရှင်တယောက်ဖြစ်အောင်မြင်ခဲ့တဲ့ကိုဖြိုးစရာတော့တကယ်ကို well known နော်ကြော်ကြားခဲ့တဲ့ပုံကိုယ်ပြီးတော့ကိုဂျင်မီလိုလူမျိုးဆိုလို့ရှိရင်ဘဝအတွက်လွတ်လပ်မှုနဲ့တရားမျှတမှုနဲ့ဒီမိုကရေစီရေးအတွက်လူငယ်ဘဝဆိုတာကိုထောင်ထဲမှာပေးဆက်ခဲ့ကြတယ်ထောင်ထဲမှာပေးဆက်ပြီးပြန်ထွက်လာတဲ့အချိန်မှာလည်းပဲဒီဒီမိုကရေစီရေးအတွက်ကိုဆက်ပြီးတော့မကြောက်မရွံ့နော်ထောင်ထဲမှာဘယ်လိုနေခဲ့ရလဲဆိုတာကျွန်တော်တို့အားလုံးထောင်ကြဦးတဲ့လူတိုင်းသိကြတယ် ဘလို့ရင်ဆိုင်ခဲ့ကြတယ်ဘလို့ခက်ခဲရှိတယ်ဒါကိုမကြောက်မရွံ့နဲ့ထပ်ပြီးတော့သူတို့တွေကရင်ဆိုင်ခဲ့ကြတယ်နော်တွန်းလှန်ခဲ့ကြတယ်ဒီအာဏာရှင်စနစ်ကိုအဲ့ဒီလိုတွန်းလှန်ရင်းနဲ့ပဲထောင်ကျင်ကျင်ဖမ်းခံရမိသားစုတွေဒုက္ခပေးခံရနော်ဒီလိုမျိုးတွေဖြစ်ခဲ့ကြတယ်ဒါအပြင်သူတို့ကနောက်မဆုတ်ဘူးဒီတစ်ခါမှလည်းပဲသူတို့ဟာသူတို့ရဲ့တတ္တိကိုပြခဲ့တယ်သူတို့ရဲ့ရဲရင်မှုကိုပြခဲ့တယ်သူတို့ဟာသူတို့ရဲ့ဘဝသူတို့ရဲ့အသက်သူတို့ရဲ့မိသားစုဆိုတာတွေကိုစရေးပြီးတော့ကိုတက်တည်ပြသွားခဲ့တယ်အမှန်တရားအတွက်သူတို့ရင်ဆိုင်မယ်ဆိုပြီးတော့သူတို့ရဲရဲဝံ့ဝံ့ထွက်ပြီးတော့နော်တော်လှန်ခဲ့ကြတယ်တွန်းလှန်ခဲ့ကြတယ်လူတို့ကိုစီယုံခဲ့ကြတယ်ဆိုတော့ဒါတွေဟာကျွန်တော်တို့သမိုင်းမှတ်ကြောက်တင်မဲ့ကျွန်တော်တို့ရဲ့သူရဲကောင်းတွေဖြစ်ခဲ့ကြတယ်ကျွန်တော်တို့ကိုချင်းမီနဲ့ဆိုလို့ရှိရင်မီတင်တွေထဲမှာနေ့တိုင်းဒီပါကျွန်တော်တို့စကားတွေပြောခဲ့ကြတယ်ကျွန်တော်တို့တော်လှန်ရေးအတွက်ကိုတိုင်ပင်ဖလှယ်ကြတယ်နော်ကျွန်တော်တို့တိုင်ပင်ကြတယ်တွေ့ကြုံတွေဖလှယ်ကြတယ်ပြီးတော့ကျွန်တော်တို့စီစဉ်တွေချမှတ်တယ်ဆိုတော့ဒီလိုလူမျိုးတယောက်ကခုချိန်မှာကျွန်တော်တို့မတွေ့ရတာတစ်နှစ်တောင်ပြည့်တော့ကျွန်တော်တို့ရဲ့မီတင်တွေထဲမှာမီတင်တွေရောက်လို့ရှိရင်ဘလောက်ပဲတန်ရှင်တွေများနေပါစေသူ့ရဲ့ဖြတ်ထိုးညံသူ့ရဲ့ဟာတညံနဲ့ကျွန်တော်တို့မီတင်တွေကတန်ရှင်တွေကိုနော်ရော့ဘားသွားစေခဲ့တယ်အနုပညာရှင်တယောက်လည်းဖြစ်တဲ့အလျောက်ဟာတာလေးတွေလည်းပြောတတ်တယ်ကျွန်တော်ဆိုခဏခဏသူ့ကိုပြောမိတယ်ကိုတို့လာလို့ရှိရင်အနုပညာရှင်တွေရောက်လာလို့ရှိရင်စကလုံးတွေကတော့အမြဲတမ်းပါလာတယ်ကြံလာတယ်ထောင်ထဲမှာတွေ့ကြုံခဲ့တဲ့အတွေ့အကြုံလေးတွေကိုရင်းနှီးပြီးတော့ဟာတာလေးတွေပြောတတ်တယ်ဆိုတော့ဒီလိုလူမျိုးတယောက်ကအခုတော့ကျွန်တော်တို့မတွေ့ရတော့ဘူးဆိုတော့အတိစိတ်ကကျွန်တော်စီမှာတော်တော်ကိုကျွန်တော်ရင်ထဲကိုတော်တော်ထိရှာတို့တူပဲကိုဖြိုးစေရတော့နော်ကျွန်တော် ਨੇ ဒီတော်လိုင်းရေးကြမှာစပြီးတော့ရင်းနှီးခဲ့တဲ့ပုံကူတယောက်ဖြစ်တယ်ဒါပေမဲ့စကားတွေပြောပြကြတယ် message တွေပြန်လှန်ပို့ပြကြတယ်တခုခုဖြစ်လို့ရှိရင်ကိုထင်ရေးလောက်ပါအောင်ဆိုပြီးတော့ကျွန်တော်စီကိုလှမ်းပြီးတော့တိုင်တတ်တယ်နော်ဒီလိုညီလေးတယောက်ကိုကျွန်တော်တို့ဆုံးရှုံးလိုက်ရတယ်ထို့အတူပဲကျွန်တော်တို့ကဒီဒေါ်လာရေးမှာကြာဆုံးခဲ့ကြတဲ့သူရဲကောင်းတွေတော်တော်ကိုများခဲ့ကြတယ်မနေ့တနေ့ကပဲကျွန်တော်တို့ဒီပန်းရင်ဘက်ကရွာတွေမှာဖြစ်ခဲ့တဲ့ကိစ္စမှာစာတင်ကျောင်းကိုတော့မှဘုံနဲ့ကျဲနော်ဆက်တနက်နဲ့ပြစ်ပြီးတော့တတ်သွားခဲ့လို့ကလေးလေးတွေလက်ပြတ်ချီပြတ်နော်မျက်လုံးတွေပါပေါက်ထွက်ပြီးတော့အသက်ပါဆုံးရှုံးသွားခဲ့ကြရတဲ့ကလေးတွေတောင်ရှိနေအဲ့တော့ကျွန်တော်တို့ဟာဒီရာဇဝတ်မှုတွေကိုကျူးလွန်နေတဲ့ဒီစစ်ကောင်စီကိုကျွန်တော်တို့တရားမျှတမှုအတွက်နော် accountable ရှိနဲ့ကျွန်တော်တို့ကသူတို့စီကိုတာဝန်ယူမှုသူတို့ရဲ့ကျူးလွန်မှုတွေအတွက်ကိုကျွန်တော်တို့ကပြန်ပြီးတော့တောင်းဆိုကြရလိမ့်မယ်သူတို့ရဲ့လူမဆန်တဲ့တပ်ဖြတ်မှုတွေအတွက်ကိုကျွန်တော်တို့တရားမျှတမှုတောင်းဆိုကြရလိမ့်မယ်ထို့အတူပဲကျွန်တော်တို့ဟာဒီလူတွေအသက်ပေးပြီးတော့နော်တော်လှန်နေတဲ့တော်လှန်ရေးကိုကျွန်တော်တို့အောင်မြင်အောင်တိုက်ရလိမ့်မယ်ဒီတော်လှန်ရေးအောင်ပါမှကျွန်တော်တို့တာဝန်ကျေမယ်လို့ကျွန်တော်တို့ခံစားရတယ်အဲ့တော့ကျွန်တော်တို့ရဲ့တိုင်းပြည်မှာတရားမျှတမှုတန်းတူညီမျှမှုဒီမိုကရေစီနဲ့ကျွန်တော်တို့ရဲ့ Federal ရေးအတွက်ကိုဒီလူတွေရဲ့ဝိညာဉ်တွေကိုတိုင်တယ်ပြီးတော့ကျွန်တော်တို့နိုင်တဲ့အထိဒီမိုကရေစီနဲ့ Federal စနစ်ကိုတည်ထောင်နိုင်တဲ့အထိတရားမျှတမှုရတဲ့အထိတန်းတူညီမျှမှုတွေရတဲ့အထိဆက်ပြီးတော့တိုက်ပွဲဝင်ကြပါစို့လို့ကျွန်တော်ပြောလိုပါတယ်ကျေးဇူးတင်ပါတယ်
အခုလိုပြောပေးသွားတဲ့ဝန်ကြီးဦးထင်နိုင်အောင်ကျေးဇူးတင်ပါတယ် Thank you so much for sharing today. This was all very emotional to us, and this, as you have said, we are going to continue fighting so that the sacrifice of our fallen heroes will not go in vain. And really thank you for sharing such a personal and emotional remark for us today. And for our closing remark, before I go to our closing remark, we wanted to make a note that Aung, who is the Minister of Human Rights from the National Unity Government, unfortunately is unable to join us today. He was supposed to join us, but his flight is delayed, so he will not be able to make it to share his remarks and reflections. And we have our closing remarks from Myint, who is the editor-in-chief of Mizzima News. But before we close out and play the video, I want to remind everyone that just like Htin has just said right now, this fight will continue, and this fight is going to need a lot of support and a lot more energy from all of you today. And my colleagues have been sharing a lot of links to support and do actions in support of the democracy movement. You can donate to the Assistant Association for Political Prisoner AAPP, and there's a link in the chat that you can click on to go to their website to donate. There's also a link to the Mutual Aid Myanmar that has been shared in the chat, where you can click on and donate to the people who are striking in Myanmar, who are doing the civil disobedience movement. Even after a year and a half after the coup, they stay going strong and they stay resisting the junta, and they need their support. So please go to this link and make your donations to support our heroes and our friends who are still fighting from on the ground in Myanmar. There is also a link to a petition to support our Ambassador Ma Thinn Thiri in the UN Credentials Challenge campaign. We'll need your signatures to campaign for this in the international stage. The UN is still yet to accept the credentials of Ambassador Ma Thinn Thiri. And if you want to help us make the actions, please click on the action link that has been shared by my colleagues in the chat.
ဆရာနာရှင်ရဲ့တရားမဲ့တပ်ဖြတ်ခြင်းခံရတဲ့သူရဲကောင်း၄ဦးအတွက်အမှတ်တရစကားပြောခဲ့ပေးပါတော့ NUG အစိုးရအဖွဲ့ကဆက်သွယ်ရေးသတင်းအချက်အလက်နဲ့ဤပညာဆိုင်ရာဝန်ကြီးဦးထင်လင်းအောင်ကိုကျေးဇူးအများကြီးတင်ပါတယ်ရှင်ဒီအစီအစဉ်မှာ NUG အစိုးရအဖွဲ့ကလူခွင့်ဝန်ကြီးဦးအောင်မျိုးမင်းပါဝင်ဆွေးနွေးပြီးတော့ဒီစကားပြောဖို့စီစဉ်ထားတယ်ဆိုပေမဲ့လမ်းခရီးအခက်အခဲကြောင့်အခုချိန်မီမပါဝင်နိုင်ခြင်းဝင်ရောက်ပြီးတော့စကားမပြောနိုင်ခြင်းရှိသွားတဲ့အတွက်ကိုလည်းကျွန်တော်တို့တောင်းပန်ပါတယ်နောက်ထပ်အစီအစဉ်တစ်ခုဖြစ်တဲ့Mizzimaသတင်းဌာနရဲ့ editor ချုပ်ဦးစိုးမြင့်ရဲ့ဗီဒီယိုဖိုင်ကိုမပြခင်ကျွန်တော်တို့ဒီရန်ပုံငွေနဲ့ပတ်သက်တဲ့အခြေအနေလေးတစ်ခုကိုလည်းမိတ်ဆက်ပေးချင်ပါတယ်ဒါကတော့သူရဲကောင်း၄ဦးအတွက်ဒီအမှတ်တရအောက်မေ့ပွဲအခမ်းအနားဒီကျင်းပနေရတဲ့တပြိုင်နက်စစ်အာဏာရှင်ရေးဒီမိုကရေစီရေးတွေအတွက်ကြိုးပမ်းနေကြတဲ့ဒီနိုင်ငံရေးအကျဉ်းသားများကုညီစောင့်ရှောက်ရေးအဖွဲ့ AAPP နဲ့အတူ Burma and Mutual Aid မြန်မာအတွက်လှူဒန်းငွေများကိုလည်းသူတို့သက်ဆိုင်ရာ website တွေရဲ့ဒီမှာလည်းဒီဝင်ရောက်ပြီးတော့လှူဒန်းလို့ရပါတယ်ဒါပြင်လည်းဒီကုလသမဂ္ဂမှာမြန်မာနိုင်ငံဆိုင်ရာတမန်ကြီးဦးမိုးထွန်းဆက်လက်ခံထားရေးအတွက်ဒီ petition ပေါ့လေဒီဝင်ရောက်ပြီးတော့လက်မှတ်ထိုးရေးထိုးနိုင်မဲ့ link ကိုလည်းပူးတွဲပြီးတော့တင်ပြထားရဲဆိုတာကိုလည်းပြောချင်ပါတယ်အခုတော့ကျမတို့နောက်ထပ်အစီအစဉ်တစ်ခုကိုမိမိရေးဆက်လိုက်ရအောင်ပါเนาะဟုတ်ကဲ့
ပါမအခုကတော့မိမိအနေနဲ့ဒီဦးဆုံးမြင့်ရဲ့ closing remark ကို share လုပ်မှာဖြစ်ပါတယ်
ဟုတ်ကဲ့
Thank you, friends and colleagues, for giving me this opportunity to say a few words. 18 months after the Burmese military seized control of the government and denied the people of Burma, Myanmar, their right in choosing their country's leaders, the junta continues to target those who oppose their unlawful regime. This includes not just those who have taken up arms to fight for justice and freedom, but also those activists who work for the restoration of democracy along non-violent means. As we gather today to celebrate the lives of Phyo Zeya Thaw, Aung, and Aung Tuyazo, who have given the ultimate sacrifice for the cause of the Burmese people, it is important that we continue to support the movement to overthrow military rule in Myanmar. If we don't do this, then the lives of those who have fallen will have been given in vain. And just as it is important that the people of Myanmar don't lose hope and continue their struggle, we also ask for the international community to continue to stand by the people of Myanmar in their fight against dictatorship and oppression. I urge anyone that can to donate money to organizations such as the Assistance Association Political Prisoners, Burma, AAPPB, and Mutual Aid Myanmar. These organizations provide invaluable services and support for those fighting the junta and those under direct threat from the junta. Phyo Zeya Thaw, Aung, and Aung Tuyazo, all of them clearly knew of the immense risk they took upon themselves in their political convictions. And we salute them and all the other fallen heroes in our fight for freedom and democracy. Sadly, it is not a fight yet won, but I am very sure we will win. And a single day does not pass without the news of more murders to the cause of freedom in Myanmar. Mizzima is proud to be a part of this fight against military rule. But this has meant that we are also targeted by the junta. While we are fortunate that no Mizzima staff have thus far lost their lives at the hands of the junta, 7 Mizzima staff have been arrested and 2 remain in jail. Those arrested have been subjected to torture and other forms of systematic maltreatment. But at Mizzima, we vow to continue to do our part in the struggle to rid Myanmar of dictatorship once and for all, no matter how long it takes or the sacrifices it brings. In this way, we remain most true to the vision of these fallen heroes and all the others who have already lost their lives in the struggle, and all those who will do so until this fight is won. Thank you for the opportunity to be with you today, and I encourage everyone to support Myanmar's fight against dictatorship in whatever way you can, so that the people of Burma, Myanmar can build a new, democratic, free, and federal union as soon as possible. We will win. Sit Anashin Senate Chasoyami.
I want to thank Myint and Mizzima News for not only sending in the videos with the call to actions, but also helping us host this program today. And I want to reiterate the fact that you can donate to, you can use the links in the chat. And if you're watching us live on Facebook, please go to the website for Mutual Aid Myanmar and AAPB to make your donations to support the democracy movement in Myanmar. And also, please follow along closely for the campaigns for credential challenge for UN to accept Ujong Mothon as the ambassador for Myanmar. Before I close out, I wanted to thank everybody for joining us in commemorating and celebrating the lives of our fallen heroes today. The Phyo Zeya Thaw, Jimmy, Aung Tuyazo, and Aung, their sacrifice will not be in vain, and we will keep fighting for democracy and freedom to come to our country in Myanmar. And with that, I want to close out with a Yedawong Aoyami.
Video message ပေးပို့ခဲ့ပါတော့Mizzimaသတင်းဌာနရဲ့ editor ချုပ်ဦးစိုးမြင့်ကိုကျေးဇူးအများကြီးတင်ပါတယ်ရှင်။ So ကျမတို့ဒီအခမ်းအနား ပြီးခင်ပေါ့အချိန်ပိုင်းအတွင်းမှာလည်းဒီ AAPP နိုင်ငံရေးအကျဉ်းသားများကူညီစောင့်ရှောက်ရေးအဖွဲ့နဲ့ Mutual မြန်မာရဲ့ website ဒီမှာလည်းအလှူငွေများထည့်ဝင်နိုင်ကြောင်းကိုလည်းထပ်မံအသိပေးနှိုးဆော်အပ်ပါတယ်ရှင်စစ်အာဏာရှင်ရဲ့တရားမဲ့တပ်ဖြတ်ခံရတဲ့88မျိုးဆက်ကျောင်းသားခေါင်းဆောင်ကိုချင်းမီပြည်သူ့လွှတ်တော်ကိုယ်စားလှယ်ဟောင်းကိုဖြိုးစေရသောကိုလှမျိုးအောင်ကိုအောင်သူရဇော်၄ဦးတို့အတွက်အောက်မေ့ဖွယ်အခမ်းအနားကိုဒီမှာပဲရန်နာခွင့်ပြုပါအောင်ရှင်ဒီအစီအစဉ်မှာဝင်ရောက်ပြောကြားပေးခဲ့ပါသောတာမန်ကြီးများမြန်မာရေးကျွမ်းကျင်သူများမြန်မာနိုင်ငံဒီမိုကရေစီနဲ့လူ့အခွင့်အရေးအတွက်အားပေးကြသူများနဲ့အတူကျမတို့ online ကနေတိုက်ရိုက်ထုတ်လွှင့်စဉ်အတွင်းမှာဝင်ရောက်ကြည့်ရှုပြီးတော့အားပေးကြတဲ့ပြည်သက်တွေအားလုံးကိုကျေးဇူးအများကြီးတင်ပါတယ်ရှင်ဒီနှုတ်ခွန်းဆက်စကားနဲ့ပဲကျမတို့ဒီခမ်းနားကိုဒီမှာပဲရန်နာခွင့်ပြုပါရှင်ရေးတော်ပုံအောင်ရမည်